So the big news is that James Ward Prowse has suffered a knock in training. Well, I say that's the big news. I think the news appears to have been blown up to be bigger than it actually is. So let me say from the outset of this video that suggestions that it might be a 6-month injury are being seriously played down. The truth of the matter is nobody actually knows at the moment. So I think what you've got is two separate stories. The people that are fearing the worst are saying that's it, he's out for 6 months, the curse of West Ham strikes again, and we do seem to suffer terrible luck, certainly historically with injury. We didn't do too badly last season, let's be perfectly honest. The other way is, I think, is the leaks that have come from the club, which is the club are suggesting nothing to see here, nothing to worry about at all. James Ward Prowse is absolutely fine, and we're sending him for scans which are absolutely precautionary. I would imagine the truth is somewhere in the middle, but I would like to point out, I'm using the word imagine. I am only imagining. I don't know. I think if there's nothing to worry about, you don't send anyone for a scan, do you? I think if someone just has a little knock and it's a bruise, there's a lot of people who get knocks, bruises, all manner of things on the training pitch all the time. They're not sent for a scan. I think you send someone for a scan to see if something is broken, if there's ligament damage, if there's something like that going on. So I think there's probably cause to be concerned a little bit with James Ward Prowse. I think we're just going to have to sort of hold back from worrying too much. But the club absolutely are playing it down. That worries me a little bit because it's very, very early to come out with the news saying, oh, no, it's just scans, precautionary scans, nothing to worry about, nothing to see here. I'm not, sometimes you can protest a little bit too much, can't you? So, I mean, that would be a little bit of a concern. Certainly, he's been outstanding for West Ham so far this season. It's only 4 games, obviously, but he's had an impact in every single one of them. So, yeah, he's already become, I feel, an integral part of the squad. But there you go. That's what you do have a squad for, and we do have a squad. So, I think probably what we expect to see is obviously Thomas Souček coming back in, playing alongside Edson Alvarez, and it'll be Souček, Alvarez, and of course Paquetá in there as well. There's another couple of stories going on with Lucas Paquetá to do with the investigation, which has not been sorted out yet. I don't particularly want to speak about it at the moment. I have a feeling, reading between the lines, that it's the same old stuff. There's no new allegations there at all. I just think it's, by the looks of it, it's the Brazilian FA that want to have clarity on it. Because, as you might remember, they pulled him out of the Brazil squad following the allegations last time. So I don't think there's anything new there, but I don't want to particularly discuss it in any depth at all because I don't know that much about it, truth be known. So, but I would certainly expect him to be featuring prominently for West Ham. But the James Ward Prowse thing is, I want to call it a loss. I think it feels like a loss, but do you know what? I also don't want to spend too much time talking about it because we don't know, and it could well be that actually he lines up to face Manchester City in a couple of weeks' time. But we'll just have to wait and see on that one. Yesterday I did a video about Jesse Lingard. Now, what you may well find is actually this situation, if Ward Prowse's injury is on the bad side, put it that way, and it is 2 or 3 months, then you may well find that actually the club look to bring in Jesse Lingard to sort of cover that off, really. As we know, Paquetá can play deeper if need be. So obviously we've lost Flynn Downs from that. From the squad depth there. So, I don't know. Maybe there's something to do with that. However, yesterday I mentioned Fenerbahce and Galatasaray were possibly in for Jesse Lingard. You can now add Wolverhampton Wanderers to that list. Of course, he's going to be, as much as, there are obviously a lot of us at West Ham who, maybe we'd prefer the signing not to happen. You got to appreciate, I think, that he's going to be an attractive proposition for a lot of clubs because he's free. And I'll tell you what, looking at some of the prices being bandied about for some of the players, particularly some of the players that might be of interest to some of the Saudi clubs, a player that is free is going to be a very attractive proposition indeed. Of course, Wolverhampton Wanderers is up in the Midlands. He was up in the Midlands with Nottingham Forest last season. So, yeah, it's an interesting one. I think a couple of the comments that I saw were talking about, maybe West Ham, about him betraying West Ham again by signing for Wolves. I'm not sure that's the case because I just don't think we've offered him a deal yet. I think it's West Ham are sort of stalling with Lingard, and we got every right to. We got every right to take our time with Lingard because Lingard took a lot of time trying to decide whether he wanted to join us or not, and in the end he decided not to join us. So the club should only do that Lingard deal if it's absolutely the right thing for the club to do. So yeah, that's what I think about that. He might join Wolves, might join Fenerbahce, might join Galatasaray. I still imagine West Ham are slight favourites to sign the player, I'd imagine, reading between the lines. Now, the other thing that's sort of Saudi-based, which is starting to do the rounds a little bit, is Pablo Fornals. Now, this one really is interesting. A lot of the reports are almost indicating that the Saudi club are going to ponder it, whichever club might be interested in him. As far as I can see, there's no time to ponder it at all. We're in a situation where, today's the 6th. Their transfer window closes on the 7th. So it's not like they've got a lot of time to ponder. They either make the bid, they make the deal, and they do it now, or they don't do it at all. The thing is with Fornals, this is not the first bit of speculation we've had in the last month or so. There was initially interest from Sevilla. I say allegedly apparent interest. It didn't seem to come to anything. I don't think there was any sort of bid at all, and you certainly weren't reading a load of reports that the club had turned down all offers or any offer for Pablo Fornals. So if there wasn't an offer, then how serious was the interest? I also think it is worth pointing out that he's only got a year left on his contract, and certainly the Spanish clubs are not awash with money. So why would a Spanish club spend the rumoured price was 15 million? Why would a Spanish club spend 15 million pound on a player that they can get for free in a year's time? That's a lot of money for anyone. But as I say, particularly when there's not a lot of money around in the Spanish game at the moment, I just can't see them doing it at all. From the Saudi point of view, you could understand how this would be an attractive proposition for West Ham. Really, if we're gonna, I wouldn't blame Fornals for leaving at all. He's not part of the first team plans. He's a substitute. There looked to be a little glimmer at the start of the season where he might start getting some games centrally. It probably appears not now, because if you sort of look at the way he was brought on and played on the left in the most recent game, he's probably back to where he was. So that's unable to force his way into the team in the position that best suits him. So I don't blame him for leaving. I would not blame him for doing that at all. Recently married, young kids, moved back to Spain. You can understand the allure of that, but also you can understand the allure of West Ham. Really, if what we're going to do is want to accept a bid from a Saudi club to get some money in now, you can understand it. But I also would understand why Fornals wouldn't want, as I say, young family. He might want to move to Spain. He might not have no interest in moving to Saudi Arabia at all. Don't know. If anything happens, you're going to know by tomorrow anyway, because it's the end of the transfer window. I'll be back a little bit later on or tomorrow. A little chat about David Moyes' coaching shake-up, which I think is number one, it's interesting. Number two, it doesn't. I'll be arguing the case that it really doesn't matter who David Moyes has as his coaches. I'll tell you why in the next video. Anyway, but for the moment, James Ward Prowse, we really don't know.